Conspiracy culture. Right now, I wanted to discuss Hollywood, the music industry, and social engineering. So, to start off with Hollywood, it's a film industry in America, right? Well, it's not just Hollywood, but the entire media infrastructure in America has become, well, not just even in America, across the entire world, right? Movies, films, cartoons, other forms of pop culture, art, cinematography, film, you know what I'm trying to talk about, human expression kind of captured behind the camera and stuff. It's quite magical that we're like the only species that can perform, like, put on like an act and kind of dress up and kind of play out something fictional, right? Like any movies, like the characters aren't actually real, right? The plot of the story doesn't have any real consequences. It's just in the minds of some of us, right? It's just completely made up and imaginary, right? And this is kind of magical. But I want to kind of really discuss some of the more sinister aspects of the media infrastructure we're constantly exposed to, right? Because if you have like a kind of a sharp eye, you would be kind of paying, and if you've been kind of paying attention to a lot of like the messages and essentially propaganda packaged into a lot of films coming out now, not even just now, but even like before, even like during the early 19th century and stuff. The symbolism that used to get put into like a lot of Disney films, or you can kind of find, I'm sure if you kind of go onto Google and research about just I would say any, like, it's gonna be kind of, it sounds kind of stupid, but Illuminati, Disney and stuff, you'll be able to find out, like, you'll be able to see like sex, right? It's kind of all of these weird symbolic messages that get kind of vaguely incorporated into a bunch of different scenes in either movies or cartoons or other things relating to the media infrastructure we're constantly exposed to and stuff. And it's interesting. The media infrastructure we have, it kind of shapes our understanding of the world, right? It gives us specific ideas of our morality, of what's appropriate, of our conduct. It inspires us to act and to behave in a specific type of way and stuff, right? Any type of movie that you've watched probably the characters, they acted in specific ways, right? That was like probably like any type of movie you watched. That was probably your earliest form of indoctrination, right? Because you as a child, I presume you were looking at some type of movie you were watching, whatever movie that was, using how the characters were acting and stuff. Like in various films and movies and cartoons, there's like some type of morality that the characters kind of have, right? If someone, like, some character hits the other character, there's kind of some moral outrage. That's kind of the most basic way of understanding this, right? Earliest form of conditioning would be from movies that we watch when we were younger and little. And of course, well, you can kind of argue that, well, this kind of makes us more decent, right? These movies, they kind of expose us to a lot of good forms of behavior that we should kind of inspire to and stuff like that, and whatever. Well, okay, but there's also a ton of nasty propaganda that's also incorporated into a lot of modern movies and films and cartoons, right? One type of propaganda would be kind of, feminism and stuff, especially in a lot of newer, especially in a lot of stuff you can find on a lot of like Netflix and stuff like this, newer forms of media outlets and stuff, whatever. Like feminism is type of gender equality, whatever stuff, and it's really nonsense, right? But it's kind of put into a lot of modern forms, like modern media outlets and stuff like that, modern forms of entertainment. Not just feminism, also. I would say it's kind of hard to term it properly, right? Propaganda gets incorporated into a lot of these films and movies, and genres of film and cinematography and art and whatever. And you can clearly, this is like a form of mind control, brainwashing and stuff. So I just don't want to dwell too long on this, right? We should all know that Hollywood has clearly been kind of brainwashing us for a very long time now, right? And kind of exposing us to specific types of specific ways of being and acting and kind of seeing the world and stuff like that. Okay, but really, apart from Hollywood, the music industry, right? When I was very little, I used to hear and see videos of Rihanna, Jay-Z, Drake, those popular singers from the 2010s period and stuff like that, from the 2010s era and whatever and stuff. And I used to see, there was this one music video called Umbrella by Rihanna and stuff, and she was kind of singing a song about being attached to some person she likes and whatever. But at the beginning of that song, there was some mention of Rockefeller, and this might not be of course you can argue, well, this is just just a vague coincidence. It's not actually. There's no sinister aspect to this and stuff, and that could. Well, okay, it's true, all right. But there was another music video by Rihanna, and it was called S&M or something, and like that. And as you watched through this video, there was a moment in this video where Rihanna was walking past the screen, and there was something titled "Princess of the Illuminati," and that's kind of weird and bizarre. And why was that included in her music video and stuff? It's kind of makes you really wonder, right? Why do all of these different media, not media, but music videos, why do they have these weird symbols, right? A lot of people kind of claim that they're satanic symbols, right? But that's not. I don't believe. Satanism is kind of a joke. It's not really. It's just been kind of made up and invented. The Eye of Horus, which a lot of idiots claim belongs to the Illuminati. That's not satanic, right? It's nothing to do with Satanism. It clearly relates to a lot of some older types of religions that used to exist across North Africa and the Middle East and stuff like that. But to bring it back to Rihanna and stuff, yeah, she in this music video S&M, there was she was walking by. Anyway, there was this title, this piece of text, and it said "Princess of the Illuminati," and that kind of shocked me when I was little, and I could never get my head around why would that be included. You could say it was just some type of joke. Really, man, why would that be a joke? And of course, it's not just that. Any type of cover art, any popular musician, they have these weird types of cover art where they have one of their eyes covered, and it's a consistent theme. It's not just some type of joke that only they play, or it's not just something that is just random or something that's just purely for aesthetics and stuff. It's nothing. There's no conspiracy. It's not out there. There's these consistent gestures that a lot of musicians make on their cover arts and a lot of their videos and stuff, and that can kind of indicate that there probably is some type of conspiracy behind all of this and stuff. Johanna, she's just one of a popular example. It's not just her. A lot of other musicians from her time period, and Beyonce and stuff. Many other musicians have incorporated a lot of weird symbolism into their art, into their videos and music and stuff like that, and it can be noticed if you kind of carefully analyze things. But really, not a lot to say, right? It's weird. It's weird stuff that gets included in a lot of music videos and cover art and other forms of human expression and stuff. So, yeah, it makes me wonder, right, if there actually is a conspiracy, but it's kind of hard to prove, obviously. And I want to kind of get on to discussing social engineering, where you're born, right, as a person in a society. Immediately when you're born, you're instantly indoctrinated, right? Your family, your immediate family, they kind of condition you in specific ways, right? When you were very little, you probably had a parental figure, right? He was kind of managing you, right? If you tripped something up, he would kind of push you back and kind of straighten you out, right? he would talk to you. He would like kind of sort you out if you did stuff that wasn't pleasant, right? And as he grew older, right, he would kind of give you his beliefs and ideas. Him or her, because kind of parental figures aren't always fathers, or there's also a mother. So it's like, yeah, but they would like kind of pass on their beliefs. Right? You know, religion, obviously. Right? If your parents were Christians, probably that they passed this type of way of thinking on to you, right? And now you're a Christian, right? Or if your parents were Muslims, they probably passed this type of belief system onto you, and you're probably identifying as a Muslim, right? Because that's what your parents were and stuff. The earliest forms of indoctrination, social engineering, is like when we're little and we get molded by our parents. And then as we get older, we kind of move away from our parents, and then there's a bunch of other authority figures, right? School teachers, right? That's probably another example, right? They literally like shape your mind, right? When you're like in class, they give you like specific ways of seeing the world, right? They kind of give you this like rule book that you need to follow and kind of abide by and stuff like that. And they give you like what's appropriate, what's the right thing. They kind of, this is when like you start to get exposed to a lot of different ideologies that get kind of taught to you, right? School teachers, and of course not just them. Like if you're in a society, there's also the police, right? They kind of manage you in a lot of different ways. Like if you go outside and you do something indecent, these authority figures are gonna kind of come after you and stuff, and they would kind of manipulate you and kind of I want to say manipulate. They literally might beat you up if you go too far and cross the line, right? We're constantly being engineered, right? Socially engineered. We're constantly being molded by a ton of other authority figures, right? Of course, these are just extremely basic examples, right? You know, we're also being kind of engineered by, as I mentioned earlier, right, by a lot of the media infrastructure we have, right? By a lot of news outlets, media outlets, movies, films, television. All of this stuff kind of brainwashes us and gives us these specific ideas of the world. It's a form of social engineering. Of course. But then again, it's kind of humans have naturally been kind of. I'll say it's kind of natural for us to be socially engineered, right? Because we've developed in society, in like tribes and stuff, and then we like kind of moved on to like societies and stuff. You know, in a tribe, there has to be a tribe leader, otherwise the tribe kind of falls apart and you get anarchy, right? So it's probably a part of the human psyche. It's probably a natural component to us that we kind of conform, we allow ourselves to get molded by our surroundings and stuff like that, so we don't get ostracized. And, you know, for prehistoric man, right, for cavemen, right, if like one of the tribe's member like kicked you out, right, like some tribal leader, he didn't like you and he kicked you out of the community, you would just probably die. You wouldn't make it on your own, right? And so you could see there was some type of selection pressure, which would have kind of made us develop in a way that would have kind of favored being sort of having like being it's kind of hard to term, but essentially like having a more submissive mentality, right? Being able to kind of submit to what's being given to us, whether that's some type of information or social norms or whatever. It's been kind of ingrained into us from our past, and we're still suffering the consequences now and stuff. Any type of authority figure, not just the school teachers, your parents, like also the academics, the scientists, like they get all of this prestige and stuff. They get put on a pedestal, and you have to respect them because otherwise you're the idiot. That type of social engineering, and they can just kind of claim anything about the world, and you have to just accept that belief that they have, right? It's just a belief. Like, you have to understand that no human on earth is infallible, right? We are all like limited beings. We all have our own biases and weaknesses and stuff.